I'm here with Dr. Henry Wachtendorf from Royce City, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas.
Yes.
And you're at the tail end of your career. You said you were on your way to retire.
On my way to retiring.
And we've had a long relationship for years. I remember a decade and a half ago you driving all the way out to my dental office in Phoenix.
Yes. You're a big influence because in dental school we didn't learn anything at all about the business end. We learned all the technical stuff. And we got out, and I knew so little about it. I actually took a magnifying glass, took catalogs, and figured out what was on each one of the different health questionnaires and made up my own health questionnaires based on what they were asking. It was really sad. And then I got a set of your tapes. I thought, man, this is really great. And later on, then I got a set of your MBA tapes, and I thought, wow, this is awesome. And it just made a big, big difference because I never had any trouble with the technical part of it. I just had a hard time with the business part of it, figuring out, just different things. I remember one of the things you said was, that you said you didn't have a lot of hair at the time. You have less now, but you didn't have a lot of hair at the time. But you always went to this barber, and she would spend 10 minutes rubbing your head and telling you how great you looked, and you figured, there's nothing you can do. I don't have much hair to work with. But it was a good experience. And you said, why would I go to a dentist who every time I go there, they fuss at me and tell me I'm doing a crappy job, not taking care of my teeth, not cleaning them and everything. And so even if a person's not doing great, I always try to tell them something positive about it. And I think it paid off. I really did.
And you know what's amazing? The reason I pulled you in here is those tapes that you're talking about to these younger kids out. That was the original was the 30-day dental MBA.
Yes.
And you can listen to those. Those are now all for free on iTunes. So on iTunes, I have, and you said you were a fan of podcasts.
Yes.
And you didn't know I had a podcast.
Didn't.
And so I was sitting there thinking, okay, well, I'm going to put you on my podcast so that you'll see, because I know you'll check out my podcast if you find out you're on it. So, yeah, I got a podcast. But I think a lot of the people on podcasts don't realize that I have a separate podcast channel with all my tape programs from back in the day. So the 30-day MBA was about, what was that, Ryan, about $19.99? And then 2005 was the 11-hour Virtues of Profitable Dentistry. And then this is about 2012 was the one-day dental MBA. And those are all, you can hear them all for free on sound on the iTunes.
I didn't know.
Or if you go to YouTube, you can actually watch the video. So we upload those videos, but those were so fun to make over the day, and I'm so glad that you liked them over the years.
Oh, they're very influential.
So what advice would you give these young kids now? How old are you now?
64.
So you're 64, soon to be 65, and you're looking to sell your practice, retire, and you're talking to thousands of dentists on the other end who are seniors in dental school to about 5 years out. I seldom ever get an email from a podcast listener who has even entered their own practice yet. It's almost all kids. They're working in corporate. They after 2 or 3 years, they want to start their own. What advice would you give them? Now that you've already done it and at the other end, what would you tell them to do?
I think some of the big things would be don't listen to a lot of the salesmen. Listen to other dentists. The salesman's job is to sell something, and the dentist he doesn't have a dog in the fight. He can tell you what's really in your best interest. Howard Farran was an awesome influence in my life for the whole business end of it. I would try to join a dental society, a local dental society, and try to go to their meetings, especially if you have a study club. Study clubs are great. A couple of things some of the things I'd highly recommend is use a really first-class topical anesthetic. That's a big thing. If you can't give a painless injection, you're not going to do well. Don't expect to drive a Porsche the first year you get out of school. If you watch your nickels, the dollars will follow. I always try to leave the patient with a positive experience. Don't fuss at a patient when they come in with a crapped out mouth. Realize dentists scare the heck out of most people. They've had bad experiences. They don't need to be told, that they're doing a lousy job. I think it's just very important to stay develop personal relationships with your patients. Find out about their kids. Take notes. Write a note about that they have a dog, that they love. They have 3 kids and one's in college. Stuff like that. And then always try to encourage young people to consider dentistry as a profession. I mean, that's my thing.
I love that. If you watch the nickels, the dollars will follow. And you said something else. If you can't give a painless injection, you're in trouble. What topical were you using?
You talked about a topical that you had made for you. And originally it was available in Canada, you said. But you gave the formula. I don't remember the formula now, but I just have a compounding pharmacy.
So you're compounding your own?
Yes, I just go to the pharmacist and he compounds it. It's expensive compared to Hurricane, but Hurricane doesn't work. The stuff I work on, a lot of kids. I started 3-year-old children, and a 3-year-old kid, you're not going to talk him into not hurting. It either hurts or doesn't.
So you think the topical, the Hurricane topical, is not strong enough?
No.
Do you know what % you're compounding this in?
It was the formula that you I can't remember, to be honest.
I wonder if it's on Dental Town. Are you on Dental Town much?
Yes.
Are you on the app and the phone?
No, I just get on my.
I hope that you and your wife
will now.
download the app, and we took a selfie. I wish you would try to upload that selfie because it's kind of my beta test site when I'm out lecturing at a convention, because sometimes they'll upload on the phone and they'll get an error, and then I tell my programmers like, oh, I didn't know that was an issue with that type of cell phone. There's so many cell phones out there. Right. So I use it as a beta site. But so you said if you watch the nickels, the dollars will follow. Don't expect to have a Porsche the first year out. If you can't give a painless injection, you're in trouble. What other things are you thinking of?
You said one time in one of your tapes that you should have a sign that's internally lit. Period. That was my very best initial start. When we first opened our practice, my wife and I walked past, if not every house, at least 3 out of 4 houses in the town, and we dropped off a little brochure about ourselves. We got into parades. We made you said you rode a unicycle. I wasn't going to do that one. I can barely ride a regular bike.
We did the choo-choo train.
So we made a thing called a choo-choo train. We drag it with our riding lawnmower. It was a couple of 55-gallon drums on wheels, and it was called a choo-choo train.
And we have the tooth booth.
And we had little
choo-choo,
kids.
C-H-E-W.
Yes.
Choo. Oh, I love it.
And we put little kids riding in there.
Can I steal that idea?
Oh, yeah.
Because we just had ours last week, where for the Christmas though, there's in Ahwatukee where you came visit our office. We have an Easter parade every year, and then we just have the Christmas Festival of Lights where they just lit up all the lights. So we had a booth there and everything.
Yeah.
But I love the choo-choo train. That is.
Yeah.
Did you think of that yourself?
Did Natty think of that?
My daughter actually came
Yeah,
up with the idea,
my
but
daughter.
We also had the tooth booth, which everyone now knows.
Yeah.
And the tooth booth.
Yeah, we have a once a year. What's it called?
It's called Fun Fest.
Fun Fest. And
it's a fair.
It's just a fair, and we give away toothbrushes, and believe it or not, that idea right there is worth anywhere from 10 to 30 new patients off the street. And they would say, well, they're not I'm only looking for high quality patients. That's a crummy attitude. Any patient is a patient, and if you do a good job, they have friends, and you may only be doing an emergency visit on them, but their mom might need work, their kids might need work. One person, when somebody says, well, I only get 3 new patients a month, but if those people are worth 10 patients, in a matter of a short time, you have a lot of patients. And you're not going to retain all the patients because a lot of the patients, they're going to get insurance. There's a lot of what are those called? Not
HMOs?
DMOs.
Oh, DMOs?
Yeah. And so they have to go to certain dentists. Well, we've had a lot of patients that have gone to DMOs and they still come and see us because they don't like the treatment they're getting. Show the patient that you care. I give every one of my patients my home phone number, every single patient. I probably get called less than once a month, for real. And yet they feel special if you give them your own home phone.
We got totally involved in the community.
Yeah, speak closer to the mic.
Yeah.
Yes.
This mic.
Oh, this is my wife,
Tina.
Tina.
Totally involved with the community. We give out a scholarship every year to the high school.
Yeah.
We do the Education Foundation, which we give another $1,000 to every year. We do ads every Wednesday, and they're all dental information and knock-knock jokes about dentistry. And patients have come to look for those. They come to the office and they go, oh, I just read your ad, where you said that such and such, and he gives out, oral hygiene tips, and sometimes they're just cute, funny dental jokes, and they just like to read them. And so they totally connect with Dr. Henry. And because our last name is Wachtendorf, he's become Dr. Henry, and everyone in town knows him as Dr. Henry. So keep it simple, use the KISS principle, and it works out great.
Yeah.
I agree on the name. I had a friend a long time ago, and his last name was 14 letters long, and he was from Asia. And I said, I said, well, just go by his first name was Sina. I said, just go by Dr. Sina, and he ended up going by Dr. Steve, and it was a perfect marketing.
Yeah.
So what is Wachtendorf? Is that Scandinavian?
German.
That's German.
Very
So
German.
it's not very common in the United States, and
No.
it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
Wachtendor. 11 letters. So 11 letters is kind of hard. I remember when we were little, it was Kentucky Fried Chicken. Then it went to KFC. And then there were some other ones that shortened. Burger King went to BK. So Wachtendorf, you just went with Dr. Henry.
Right.
But tell us more about the scholarship. What did you say about that?
Yeah, we give a scholarship to a worthy student from the local high school, and our office is right near the high school, so all the parents go by, and what we did is we put in one of those marquees, so the student that gets the scholarship, they go on the marquee. It's put in the paper. We also do involvement.
How do you determine the scholarship? I mean, a scholarship for literacy or athletics?
We just pick
Through
one.
the high school. No, it's academics. And total involvement in the school, and so they give us a stack of essays. Actually, we go through them and read them carefully, and some of them break your heart. And we feel that we give them to most worthy students. We really do.
Yeah.
And that's an excellent thing.
It's a scholarship for all the different scholarships. If you're looking to apply for a scholarship, you have to fill out one of these applications, and then anybody who's given a scholarship gets a stack of those to read.
And if the student maintains a 3.0 average,
It's renewable each year.
GPA, we renew it. So
And how much is the scholarship?
$1,000 a year.
Yeah, it's $1,000 a semester, and then we renew it.
$1,000 a semester?
No, a year.
Well, we have different ones.
Yeah,
so
we switch
we
back and
change
forth,
it out.
but now it's $1,000 a year, $4,000
But we also
total.
do the Education Foundation, which is really for teachers who come up with innovative, creative ideas for students. And so this $1,000 goes into a pool, and then they pick certain teachers that are really, really
Innovative.
contributing to student education. And so we do that as well.
So how long have you guys worked? Have you guys worked together since day one?
Yes,
Yeah.
we did the
So,
whole office thing
so
together.
what year did you guys open up your office?
In 2004.
2004.
2004,
Yeah.
and this is 2015.
Yes.
So you guys ran an office for 11 years, man and wife.
Yes.
Did you work together? Were you the front office?
I did everything from picking the baseboards in the office, the color of the chairs in the operatory, the ADA compliance in the office. He made me pick everything. So pretty much we've worked it together. Yeah.
So what advice would you give? So you're at the tail end, you're selling. And out there right now, the podcasts are all about multitasking. They're all driving to work right now, and they're on a Stairmaster. What advice would you give to a young woman or young man who married a dentist, and they're going to open their office together? And you've successfully done this for 15 years. Take this from my hand and hold this and talk into that mic. What advice would you give them?
To get together and come up with a plan and see what you've got to start with. Most importantly is lay out a plan, honestly, and lay out a good plan, and then make a list of the things that you want to incorporate in your plan, and divvy up what it is that you're going to do and what he's going to do, and work in tandem and continually support each other. And make sure that you're always open to new ideas as well. My thing is marketing, because that's what I've done in my other jobs, and of course his is the dentistry. So between the two of us, and then we hired a girl that was really good with the office part of it and all of the dentrix and so forth. And so we just all work together as a team.
Oh, and tell about we also went to, there's a university about 15, 20 miles away. And anyway, we went to their computer design department.
The computer lab.
Where we hired the lady that did all of our brochures and stuff.
Oh, Oh yeah, one of the things which this is a good tip for everyone. We wanted to come up with really nice brochures and different flyers and things for the office to hand out in the neighborhood. And what I did is, believe it or not, I went back to school late, and I went to the business department at the university at A&M Commerce, and I spoke to the head of the department. I said, "Who's your best student in graphics?" And so they said, "Lisa Martinez." I said, may I speak with her? I said, "We'd like to hire her." And so we hired her, and that gave the student some extra money to make, and that gave us all the creative ability that she had, and came up with some fantastic stuff to use in terms of our brochures.
So what would you hold it a little closer? What would you say to people who they're married and they're thinking, okay, I'm the woman dentist, you're my husband, we're going to work together, but then other people are saying, if you were with your wife or your spouse, you're gonna ruin your marriage. The best thing to do in your marriage is not work together. But what would you say to that?
Well, I will tell you this and be very honest. Henry did ask me on occasion to become the office manager. I said, no, I really don't want to be your office manager, but I will oversee your marketing. I know what my forte is, which is marketing. I will do your accounting, QuickBooks, and so forth. And so I knew, what my abilities were, but I made sure that I found an office manager that clearly understood what our philosophy was, and which is Rose Fritz, and she is amazing. And because we picked the right person, it just all melded together. And you know what? It works. If I try not to get involved in things that I know are not in my arena of responsibility. And so, but I make sure that I do talk to Rose. I know what's going on in the office. I make sure that Henry knows what he needs to know. But Rose is the office manager. We give her the authority to make decisions, and that's critical, because you can't make somebody a manager and not give them the authority. And so, but because we work so closely together, it all absolutely works.
Plus, you have to love your wife.
You have to love your wife?
Yeah.
Well, she'd be easy to love.
She is.
But what I just heard her say from years of doing this is that rule number one: when you go in and you see the spouse and it's a disaster, 99 times out of 100, if you just walk up to the spouse and say, "Do you really want to work here?" She'll always say, "No, I don't want to work here at all. My husband makes me." And what you were is true to yourself. Your husband said, "Do you want to be the office manager?" And you said, "No." You stayed true to yourself. You have an office manager. And rule number one, if your spouse, it doesn't matter if you're a woman dentist, your office manager is a man, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. Rule number one is you have to go up there and say, "Do you want this job?" And they say, "Oh yeah, I really want this job." Are you passionate about this job? Yeah, I love it. I'm passionate. Then it's a good thing. But if they sit there and say, "No, I'm only here because my spouse makes me. I'd rather be at home raising my kid, or my career was something else." So any other advice to the young kids who are starting their own practice?
No, but I would like to say one other thing about the whole wife thing, working in the office, and that's the fact that, sometimes for a wife to be the manager in the office, it tends to put the other employees on guard. They kind of alienate themselves because they feel, oh, well, here's the wife. She's going to tell us what to do because she is the dentist's wife. And so that kind of, in and of itself, it just creates a kind of stressed environment. So I thought it was better that they not view me as the manager, but simply as the person that's there to do my jobs, and they all work together. So, I didn't need to be known as the manager of the office. It was good enough that I was the dentist's wife. So that worked out extremely well.
Yeah.
Well, any other thoughts?
You have to have digital X-rays. You have to have a digital pano. You have to if you can't afford it when you first got out of school, save up for it. You have to get a scanning system. Impressions are old. They're passe. Even panos are. I just bought a brand new pano. They're going to deliver it next week. But iCats are it, and that you've got to be able to do that. I really think you should join the AGD, American Academy of General Dentists, AGD.
AGD.
And if you really want to be a high-quality dentist, you should really at least consider doing Pankey. I didn't do it, but by the time I found out about it, I thought I'm only going to be in this for about 10 more years. I don't really want to change everything up, because you have to hold yourself to the standard. I do have one more thing. When I went to dental school, our instructor, we had a course in what do you call it, where you do everything, the rules, like don't do things. You'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, our instructor came in and he said, I'm going to tell you basically the right and the wrong of it. He said, this is a simple thing. If you wouldn't do it to your wife, you wouldn't do it to your son or your daughter, then don't do it to somebody else. And the second thing was, if you touch a tooth that doesn't need to be touched, you're going to go to hell. Does anybody have any questions? And he turned around, he looked off and says, okay. And he walked out. And honest to God, every day I'm doing dentistry, I'm thinking, would I do this to my wife or my daughter? Because it's so easy to get into a habit of saying, I only do crowns on anything with more than 2 surfaces. I only do, that kind of thing. And I'm saying that you really have to individualize everybody's treatment. And you have to ask yourself, would I do this to my daughter? Here you have a young girl come in there and the parents say, yeah, go ahead and put 6 veneers on her front teeth. And you're thinking, crap, with Invisalign, she'd be perfect, But I can knock out those Invisaligns in an hour and a half, 2 hours, put them in another hour. I'm $6,000 in the pocket. That's the attitude a lot of young dentists have. And I'm saying instead look at it that everything you do is going to fall apart. I don't care how good you think you are. Everything you do is going to fall apart. There's going to be another dentist have to redo your work down the road. You need to give him something to work with, and don't do work that doesn't need to be done. That's it. That's my suggestion.
And I would go another deal is I think it's a red flag when your staff doesn't let you do their dentistry and they go to other dentists.
I agree.
And they take their spouses. I mean, when I see a dental assistant coming in my office and I'm working on her or her husband, I'm like, well, why don't you go to
I have that all the time.
your dentist? And she says, because. And she doesn't philosophically agree with their diagnosing, treatment planning, too aggressive, whatever. And I've always thought, you know what? If you can't even sell your own team on you and your dentistry and your treatment planning,
you're absolutely
you
right.
need to go back to the drawing board.
I agree.
And
always try to judge your work when you're finished with it. Don't just get in and get out. You have a lot of times you'll have a contractor come in and do some work on your office, and the guy just does a half-assed job. He doesn't really care. He's trying to get paid and go on to the next job. He's not interested in doing something that's going to last. And when you look at it, I see a patient come in sometime, they'll have a crown. I had a guy come in with a crown that was 52 years old. He had it done when he was 25, had me redo it when he was 77. He said, do you guarantee your work? And I said, for you, I do. Because there's no way I'll live long enough to redo his work.
So you have your practice up for sale now, right? Mm-hmm. And do you have a buyer yet?
Yes.
And so you're going to sell it, and then so what's your post-retirement plan?
Well, I'm going to keep working for him for full-time 6 months so I can introduce him to all the patients. I really want I want it to work for him.
And what's full-time?
I'll work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Monday through Friday, 5 for 6 months.
For 6 months.
And then do you work for a percentage? I mean, if you're doing
there,
dentistry?
I'm going to. I really want him to do the work as much as possible, so I'll get a percentage. I get 30% of what I produce.
Okay.
No lab bills. Everything is okay. But I told him, I said, okay, I don't recommend every dentist do this or nothing like that, but I told him, I said, I'll work for $40 an hour for 6 months. So you can get everybody. I want everybody to convert over to you. I know that's not much money. We're pretty much set. We bought real estate when the market was good. Yeah.
We're doing it to help him transition because he's so concerned because he knows how entrenched Henry and our office is in the community that he wants to make sure that the patients still see him there. When they walk.
Now, is your community like a suburb of Dallas to where?
No, it's a hole-in-the-wall town.
Well,
it's my hole-in-the-wall town.
Rockwall. But
yeah.
Rockwall's expanding, and so our area is growing.
Yes, it's a super
right next
growth
door to
pattern.
An elementary school, and they're getting ready to build 500 new homes across the street and a new subdivision down the street, and we're a block from the high school. So it's grown quite a bit. So yeah, but we're close enough.
So in 6 months you're going to be done.
In 6 months, I'll work for him a couple days a week. And he can tell me to quit whenever he wants.
What does life look like now without working? Do you think you guys will get bored? Do you have a hobby?
Oh, no.
We also got into the real estate business.
Yeah,
so
we have real estate.
We have rental homes, and we do that. And stay
we
very
bought those
busy
when the
with
price
that.
was down. That's another thing. when the market drops again, if you're a young dentist, it's going to drop again. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. It's been doing that since Jesus. And the point, and we do that together. And so whenever we had extra money, we would go ahead and just buy a rental property. We took some classes on it. It's something we enjoy doing. Tina's very good at it. And so you kind of, it's just like dentistry. You learn how to do a class 2. It's the same thing over and over and over. You just follow the steps. I mean, there's a little variation, but it's the same theory. You know, you clean out the decay.
But you know, I have to. So Tina, what would you say to these dentists? I've seen this for my whole life. So when from '93 to 2000, when stocks are doubling every year, every dentist is buying. Everybody's buying. And then at March of 2000, it's like 5,600 on the NASDAQ. It plummets to 1,200. And at 1,200, when everybody should be buying, no one will touch them.
Right.
Same thing. How many real estate bubbles have we lived through? And it's like when real estate's just doubling, everybody's buying. And then as soon as it collapses, which is you should buy low and sell high. But every time it collapses, everybody's like, oh, I'm not touching stocks. It just collapsed. I'm not touching real estate. It just lost half its value. So it seems like everybody listening is they're only going to buy when all their friends are buying, and they're never going to buy if they're all by themselves. How do you go against that?
Well, in real estate, it's a simple rule of thumb. A simple rule of thumb is, if you can buy it, if you can rent it for 1% of the mortgage, you won't lose ever.
If your monthly payment can be 1%.
If your monthly mortgage, in other words, the rent payment that you receive is 1% of the mortgage. So you buy a $100,000 house. If you can rent it for $1,000 a month, there's no way to lose money.
And that'd be a 12% return, right?
Yeah.
12 months.
It's a lot more than that. It's probably more like 26 or 28%, because you also have depreciation allowance. You have appreciation. You have there is nothing like real estate.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that together we came up with a list of criteria that we use when we buy a home, and also in looking for prospective tenants. So we already know where we want the house to be, in a residential area. We know what price range we want it for. We know we want a 322. We know what the profile is for renters. So we make sure that the homes that we buy, fall in the profile that's going to be desirable to the tenants.
And a 322 is 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. And you like that because it's in the middle of the liquidity curve, where that's what most people are buying and selling.
Right, and the standard also is that the tenants make at least minimal 3 times the rent in terms of their income, so that they can afford to pay the rent.
Yeah.
So that's a critical.
And another thing you got to realize is 70% of all millionaires in the United States made their money in real estate. And
in 10 years, we went. It originally started. I was working. I sold my practice in San Antonio, and I came up here. I came to East Texas, which is where my farm was. I live on a farm right now, and I sold my farm. I bought my farm a long time ago. I wasn't getting any closer to it. Took me forever to talk her into marrying me.
Really? It took him 12 years?
12 years. So anyway.
So you guys dated 12 years?
Yes.
And now you've been married how many years?
17.
Dated 12, married 17.
Yeah.
Good job.
Anyway, she finally saw the light. I just wore her down. Either way. Anyway, but the point was that we, when we started out, when you buy real estate, you just don't do willy-nilly. You don't buy a house that you want to live in. If you buy a house you want to live in, you buy a $250,000, $300,000 house. How many people are going to rent? Spend $3,000 a month in rent? Those people are going to buy a house. They can afford $3,000 a month. They can afford their own house. But if you buy a house that you can rent for $1,000, they'll line up. I mean, we just had one for rent. I bet you we got at least 25 phone calls on it the first day. And you're not trying to hit a home run. You only make your profit on it is only maybe $300 a month. You put your money in 4 years or 5 years, you get all of your money back. All the money you put in is back. From that point on, you're making $300 a month without getting out of bed. That includes all the little crap that happens, where they try to flush a a teddy bear down the commode. One did. All the other cornball stuff that they do. But it's a game you have to enjoy it. Some people don't. Some people, I want stock. I don't want to get up and fix a toilet. I have never fixed a toilet. I call a plumber who goes and fixes a toilet. Problem solved.
The fact that we work so well together doing the dental business, the key was staying organized. That just transitioned into the real estate business. We took what we learned working together in the dental business and started
also,
a new area.
And read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Required reading. If you're a dentist, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Essential.
Yeah,
and you also had a book. I can't remember the name of it about setting up a dental practice. I don't remember the name of it. Remember, it's about this.
The Business of Dentistry.
Yes, great book. Required reading. I'm not trying to sell you. I'm trying to tell young dentists that you can reinvent the light, or you can let somebody who's already invented the damn light show you how to use it, and then use the light. Why would you go
I know
do
you
that?
got to go. You're
Yes.
But Tina, thanks for coming by. Thank you so much for
thank
coming
you,
by
Howard.
and talking to us
You're really
today.
a big deal in my
Downtown
life.
booth. Oh, thank you. The honor and pleasure is all mine. Have a rockin' hot day.